Casey Stoney opened up about her firing.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of things in here that are very unsettling for sure. As we talked about last week, we told you that she is going to coach the Canada women's soccer team. And over the weekend, an article came out in the Times, a huge article, obviously, in which Stoney said that there was, she gave her account of the story. We've heard things here and there, but she told us straight up. She said that she was fired by San Diego while in the UK for a funeral, number one.
Mhm. That's
But the
horrible.
firing actually canceled the visas. Okay, this is huge. Canceled the visas of Stoney, her wife, and her 3 children. So it was immediate, and it left them in the UK without a home, which, like, to do that to someone on any level is just diabolical as far as I'm concerned. Um, this quote is, "We were angry for a little while, but then we worked to get a sponsor for a visa to get back to San Diego. And that was a conscious decision as parents. I'd come home to the UK for a funeral and got the call as soon as I landed." So literally, you land for a funeral, you're already, having this moment that nobody wants to have. And then on top of that, you fire some, like, you can't tell me that they couldn't wait for that. Um, while Stoney fielded many head coaching offers from club teams, she just said that they weren't right for her family. I mean, they've already been through so much, right? And they just weren't the right fit. And when Canada came a calling, she literally just thought that it was right for her work-life balance. So when you hear this, Ashley, what do you think off top? Because to do this to somebody, in my opinion, is just, I can't even imagine that when you could wait, make sure their visas were good, make sure that this coach who has put in time is good for you. But what are your thoughts when you hear her account of what happened?
For starters, I mean, isn't there a thing called bereavement? Aren't you supposed to give people like time when there's a death in their immediate family to go through the process and not be bothered by work? Is that not a thing in sports? Like that's crazy. Um that's first of all, I'm taken aback by that. And even if there isn't a things, even if bereavement, excuse me, is not a thing in professional sports, which I would be willing to bet that it is, but let's just play devil's advocate and say that it's not. It's just common decency. Like you're dealing with something already. Not to say that they had to like postpone, the firing or the hiring of somebody else, but maybe just give her and her family some time to deal with what is a very serious and just gut-wrenching and heartbreaking thing to go through, and just hold off on contacting her and let her deal with that. But even if you wanted to make sure, because media can leak things and things like that, and you wanted her to find out from the club directly that she was no longer going to be the coach of the organization, and you wanted to be the one to place that phone call, that's fine. I can respect that, I guess, in a way. Don't cancel the visa. Like, make sure she can get back to the States. Like, that's crazy to me. That's where it gets very just childish, manipulative, disrespectful, not cool. Like, all of those things, all those adjectives. There was a right way to handle that, and that was the wrong way to handle that. Period, point blank.
Absolutely. Absolutely wrong way to handle it. And here's the thing. We can talk all day about if she should have been fired or not. That's a whole nother podcast, right? We talked about this
Mhm.
before. But if you're going to do it, you honor the coach who has been coaching your team. I don't care what you think the problem is or whatever. You honor her and her family, who now just have no way of moving about. Like, you literally are stranding them. I don't care if you like the coach or not. That is just not something you do to a human being on purpose. You just don't do that, let alone their entire family. And Jill Ellis, who obviously, was a part of this whole thing and the whole controversy and the firing, um, she is essentially given a promotion by, FIFA. Like, literally, she was essentially giving one. And I feel like when you look at soccer, this has happened many times on many occasions where someone does something that is not right, or there's a controversy around it or whatever, and then they are promoted in some way. What are your thoughts on that? After someone does something like this?
We've seen this in a multitude of different scenarios. I think that it's messy. It stains the promotion. Um, it tarnishes the promotion, if you ask me personally. Um, I know some people don't care about that. Some people don't think about energy and things like that. I think everything harbors energy. Everything has like a vibe to it. I wouldn't want this to be how I got promoted, how I was, elevated in my career, but that's just me. And again, it just goes back to business is business, but human decency is also human decency. And this wasn't like she was on vacation. This wasn't like, she was just backpacking through Europe. And yeah, it's messed up that you spoiled her trip, letting her know that she was going to be fired. And that sucks. That's unfortunate. This was a funeral. This is like calling someone the day of their wedding and saying, hey, you're fired. And by the way, you can't come back to the States when you're done getting married. Like, you gotta have there's gotta be a level of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just couth. Like,
Karma.
you know what I mean? People don't have
Well,
couth
yeah,
these
but
days. Like, people lack couth. Like, it's just, there's a right and a wrong time to do certain things. That was just the wrong time. Or decorum.
yeah,
Yeah. Decorum's a good
yeah,
word too. Like, just lacking just basic decencies. It just, I don't know. It's icky. I don't like it.
yeah, couth, decorum, and when I said karma, I'm thinking about what happens to you when you when
You're
you
not
do
wrong,
some things
girl.
like this, okay?
Hmm.
But, it's also to me, I don't care what sports league it is. When someone has done things like this, or even there was a lawsuit, we talked about this, filed against Jill Ellis, the Wave and the NWSL were sued by 5 former employees alleging multiple forms of discrimination, sexual harassment, retaliation, and wrongful termination. Ellis has since been hired as FIFA's chief football officer and given a promotion. If someone is, you don't promote them afterwards. Like, let's look into why these things keep happening with this specific person, why they move the way that they move, why people are accusing them of certain things and not give them promotions. Like, I don't
Right.
understand how this keeps happening in sports, and it's definitely something that needs to be looked at across the board, and especially in this case. Like, there's no room for it. And it'll happen again. That's another thing too. So you want to promote somebody that does something like this, is definitely something that can happen again. So we'll keep tabs on all of this. This isn't the end of this. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but we've seen it time and time again across all leagues. So